He was, by one estimate, the richest man who ever lived. He bought an emperor, he bankrolled the Pope, he cornered the metal that built Europe, kings owed him their crowns, the church owed him its cathedral. And today, almost no one remembers his name. This is the story of Jakob Fugger, the merchant from Augsburg, who became more powerful than any king in Europe, and whose empire, for all its gold, turned to ash. How does the richest man in history simply vanish from memory? To understand that, you have to go back to a weaver's workshop in a German town and follow the money. The Fuggers began with cloth. In 1367, a weaver named Hans Fugger walked into the city of Augsburg and started trading fustian, a humble cotton and linen weave. 3 generations later, the family was rich, but it was the youngest son, Jakob, who saw what no one else did. Jakob Fugger understood a single, ruthless truth. Princes always need money, and princes own mines, so he lent them gold. And when they could not repay, and they never could, he took his payment in something better than gold. He took the mines. In the Tyrol, he bankrolled an archduke's wars and walked away with the silver of Schwarz. In the mountains of Hungary, he partnered with an engineer named Thurzo, drained the flooded copper shafts no one else could reach, and seized the richest copper deposits in Europe. Within a few years, Jakob Fugger controlled nearly half the copper on the entire continent, the very metal that made the cannon, the coins, and the cookware of an age. He had not just gotten rich, he had built a machine that turned other men's debts into empires of metal. By 1511, the family fortune stood at 200,000 guilders. Within a few years, Jakob had multiplied it more than tenfold. Just how rich was he? By the most famous estimate, from the historian Greg Steinmetz, Jakob Fugger's wealth equaled around 2% of Europe's entire economy. Perhaps $400 billion in today's money, which would make him the richest private man in history. That claim is debated. Measure a fortune across 5 centuries another way, and the number shrinks dramatically. But the ledgers leave no doubt. When Jakob died, he left his nephew a business worth over 2 million guilders, a sum no merchant on earth could rival. With that money came power over the 2 greatest forces of the age, the church and the crown. When a nobleman named Albrecht wanted to buy the Archbishopric of Mainz, it was Fugger who lent him the money. And to repay it, the church unleashed an army of preachers selling indulgences, slips of paper that promised to buy a soul out of purgatory. Half the coins built St. Peter's in Rome. The other half flowed back to Fugger, and his own agent stood beside the preacher, holding the key to the money chest. In 1517, a monk named Martin Luther watched this sacred racket and nailed 95 complaints to a church door. The richest man in Christendom had just helped crack Christendom in 2. But Fugger's masterpiece was still to come. In 1519, the throne of the Holy Roman Empire came up for grabs, and the crown was, quite literally, for sale. Its 7 electors waiting for the highest bidder. The kings of France and England emptied their treasuries, but Jakob Fugger outspent them all, well over 800,000 florins in bribes, and he put up the lion's share, roughly 2/3 himself. His money made Charles V the most powerful emperor since Rome. And 4 years later, when the court moved to rein him in, Fugger sent a letter that has echoed for 5 centuries. It is well known, he wrote, that your imperial majesty could not have gained the Roman crown without my help. He was right, and the laws against him quietly disappeared. This was the summit, and hidden inside it was the flaw that would destroy everything. The Fugger Empire was built on a single, fatal dependency: it had lent its fortune to kings. When Jakob died in 1525, his nephew Anton inherited the greatest fortune in the world and pushed it higher still, past 5 million guilders. But to keep the crown happy, Anton had to keep lending, pouring the family's gold into the bottomless wars of Habsburg Spain. And in 1557, the bill came due. Philip II of Spain, master of a silver empire in the New World, simply stopped paying. He declared his treasury bankrupt and seized a fortune in Fugger silver as it sat in port. It was the first crack, and the cracks kept coming. Default after royal default. 1557, 1575, 1596. Again in 1607. Each time the kings the Fuggers had made bled them a little whiter. There was no single dramatic collapse, just a slow, century-long hemorrhage. The richest bank in the world, draining into the debts of kings who could not be made to pay, as a brutal war laid waste to the Germany around it. Finally, in 1658, after nearly 300 years, the family quietly closed the firm for good. The empire of metal and money was gone. So why does everyone know the Medici, and almost no one knows the Fuggers? Because the Medici turned their money into marble, into paintings, and domes, and popes, and a beauty that still fills Florence. The Fuggers turned theirs into something quieter. German land and titles. They became counts and later princes, and faded gently from the world of money into the world of nobility, where their descendants live to this day. Their fortune left almost no monument. Almost, because in 1521, at the height of his power, Jakob Fugger built one strange and humble thing: the Fuggerei, a little walled village in Augsburg for the city's poor. 500 years later, it is still there, still housing the needy, and the rent is still exactly what Jakob set it at. 1 guilder a year, less than a single euro, plus 3 prayers said each day for the soul of the man who built it. The richest man who ever lived bought an emperor, a pope, and an empire. They all turned to ash. The only thing that survived was the charity. And the prayers still whispered 5 centuries on for a man the world forgot. If you want more empires built and burned to ash, this is the channel for them. Subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.